Right. Joe Rupe, thank you very much for coming back on, brother. Just for everyone at home, let them know just a quick bio on yourself and where they can find you, please.
Sure. So you could find me at ltvpodcast.shop. That's the Lighting the Void podcast. And we're updating fringe.fm to a new whatever. Like, I got plans for it. I don't know if I want to reveal it yet, but we're
Ooh.
updating that site. But you'll be able to find me there too eventually. But right now, the show website is ltvpodcast.shop. Yeah,
Okay, sounds good. Right, business out of the way.
there it
Right.
is.
So last time we spoke a lot about astral projection, shit like that. Right. For real, being
Hmm.
honest, I hadn't read the books at all. I just knew the name Robert Monroe. I've read all the books now, and uh, nothing could have prepared me for what I read. Like just the level of like, so the first book, obviously, like the way he goes over stuff leaves absolutely no fucking room for doubt, really, the way he does it.
Right.
Uh, that is obviously the businessman in him, the sort of like operational side of him, the left brain side. But the one of the things, I'm going to grab my clipboard because one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and it was one of the weirdest stories in one of the books. I think it was the first book, and it was like that. He needed $2 to go to like a fucking disco, and then there was like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But then it happens like later on in life with the fucking the trousers. Well, you call them pants, but the trousers, and there's like $3 in there. Like, and it just kept generating and generating and generating. It's fucking absolutely nuts, man.
Yeah, didn't he find it under a piece of plywood too or something like that? Like
Yeah,
two
yeah, yeah.
dollars or something. Yeah.
Mate, it's nuts. But that sort of reminds me of. Do you know you aware of the work of Ryan Musgrave Evans?
No. No,
So
no.
he talks about like crypto terrestrials, but it sort of the way he describes it sort of echoes that. And it's like, ooh, maybe he's framing it differently, but he's having the same sort of interactions with these whatever they are that sort of run this place, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the so once you get past the mystery of the physical world and natural law and how all this stuff works, and then the astral world, which is a whole other phenomenon, right?
Hmm.
Then and the third step of that would be getting past the illusion of the separation of the
Hmm.
two and realizing that things are manifesting into this world from the blueprints of the astral world, and we're growing spiritually into the astral, kind of this like figure eight thing that's happening.
Hmm.
That's when stuff gets shifty, right?
Hmm.
Like when the mystery gets just a little bit bigger.
Because there's, from what I could gather in the books, there's levels to kind of like so many different levels, and then there's levels. Once you finish those levels, there's more levels, and he talks about the seven circles or the seven spheres, and that's obviously seven in like hermeticism and stuff like that. It's pretty obviously quite a
it,
big
c-
number.
it could be, yeah, like it
Mm.
could be when you get into, man, do you read all three books?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when he's going through like some of the other people that are reporting stuff to him while they're
Mm.
traveling out of body, they're all talking about consciousness through their own filters. Some of them are talking about spheres, others are doing it through religious symbolism, and other
Mm.
people are talking about geometric shapes and dimensions. And it's like the tough part is finding the patterns in all of this stuff.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, it's natural for us to want to define things down to a formula. Okay, there's seven dimensions or there's seven whatever. But I think personally, like, it's you could use those things for tools, but don't like take them into like don't take them in as beliefs. Because if anything, the astral realm shows you like we don't know shit, right? We need to really stay open to what this is all about.
Mm. Do you know what? That's before reading those books, and I will be honest, I sort of had this mind frame of like, oh, there's like for instance, like I brought up the seven, right? But like sort of had this mind view like, oh, like we're in this realm and there's another realm there and there's all these realms and all this shit. Listening to that, these books, reading these books, we know fuck all.
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing.
right.
Like when he's like clicking out and he's like just going to these other places, and he like the shit he comes up with, like they're similar realities, but something is fundamentally different. So for example, like he can't even comprehend what they're using as a power source because it's incomprehensible to him, but it's perfectly fine to them and it works. But it's not combustion, it's not like fuel, it's not electricity, it's nothing. And he's just like,
Yeah.
don't know what to say. Like it's like, what the fuck? Like it's
Yeah, it's crazy. And a lot of times when he travels around to these places, some people know that he's from like
mm,
this earth place, and they're like, we don't want to get infected with that shit, whatever that
yeah.
noisy stuff you got over there is, right? And then sometimes they don't know where he's from at all, and he can kind of sneak around a little bit.
Mm,
It's a trippy thing, dude. It does, like once you get into the second or third books, like if you started with those books, it would be really hard to believe. You'd be
yeah,
like, what is this?
yeah,
But yeah, man. Like, bro, I'm still trying to get out of my neighborhood in the astral,
for real.
right? I haven't left and went into any other dimensions or places or consensus realities. I'm still traveling around in my ghost body here, dude. You know,
Okay, okay. Do you think that's something, a mental blockage that you're creating subconsciously?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to
Absolutely.
be.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something in me that's causing me not to go there. And frankly, like I'm still having fun traveling around this place. Like I want to do it one step at a time. I
Mm,
want to figure out how to, I know this sounds completely whack, but I want to figure out how to affect the physical world in the
mm.
astral. Like,
Yeah.
bro, I mean, I know that sounds too woo or X-manish, right? But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
personally believe that we're capable of those things. That that we on some level we were naturally beings that were able to do this stuff to begin
Mm,
with, right? And all of our programming on this earth and everything that we believe here in this little bitty blue dot in the universe has really fucked us up.
mm.
I mean, in a lot of ways, it's beautiful, but in other ways, it's kept us very limited to what we're really capable of.
Really has. Like, are you referring to things like telekinesis and things like that?
Maybe those things, but first,
Mm,
like we have to do it one step at a time, I think, just like
yeah,
that rat experiment. When one person is able to do it and then can prove it, for some reason, the rest of the world catches up.
yeah.
Like we catch up as a society. So we don't even have enough people getting out of body right now. Yeah. There's still people that when I talk about it, they think I'm schizophrenic or delusional or
Mm,
something.
yeah, I try to talk to like, because I work in like really posh people's houses, and I always try, oh my God, right. So I had this experience, listen to this, right? So this is on the subject, right? I'm doing this job at Oxford University, right? And I'm not going to go into it, but I seen a ghost. It was fucked up. I went to security. I was like, "Look, bro, you need to come with me. You need to come into this fucking place, like, because if someone's, I'm alone. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, if somene's in here, like, they're even gonna get a punch to the face, flying a butt, or they're gonna get stabbed with
Yeah.
my blade. Like, I don't know who it is. Um, we'll spare the details for the haunting, but this security guard walks around with me, and he brings up astral projection, like just this old dude, and I'm like, I just look at him. I'm like, have you just said those words? Like, I said, "Did you say astral
Yeah.
projection?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And then he starts going in, like he knew Robert Monroe and all this shit. And that's when I was reading the books. I was listening to the book, and I was like, "What the fuck?" It's just it's strange. Like you find these people sometimes just like tucked away in their little cubby holes that know about this shit, but then you wouldn't know that they know about this shit because they don't really talk
Yeah.
about it to anyone. So I wonder
They're
how many out
probably
there are
afraid
like
to. Or I don't know about England, but or don't want to deal with I mean, when you get to a certain age, you don't want to deal with people anyways, right?
that. Yeah,
It's like,
straight up. Yeah,
you
true.
know, but I mean, what did he say? Did he say that it could be just somebody astrally projecting around there or what?
Yeah, he did sort of. Yeah, he did. he
I mean, it's a possibility, man. you know?
100%. I think, do you know what? Before reading those books, my views on ghosts, I mean, they weren't like sort of like it's all dead people. It was quite the opposite. But as to what they were, that completely opened my eyes to the possibility of like all this, not all of it, obviously, there's going to be different variables and stuff, but a lot of it being this sort of astral, maybe people just taking the piss, like poltergeist activity. Someone's there screaming in their front room and someone's just there in the astral just having a laugh, like throwing books at them and that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I think. Like, is it not so much that, but is it just these astral travelers from whatever place there is?
Yeah, dude. It could be somebody like here's the thing too that I've been reading Voldoon, which is an older book. It's like from
Mm,
the 20s. And he says that he was like the Robert Monroe of the 20s, you know.
okay.
Uh so he says that people will there's stresses that we do. So everything is a stress from going to work, the habits and rituals that we do from going to work to brushing our teeth, to
Mm.
our addictions to everything is a stress factor. So we have these desires that cause us to do these stresses. So a lot of times when people see ghosts or things in a building or in a house or at work, it could be that person that actually works there that's actually asleep somewhere and they're
Oh,
thinking about their subconscious is just going over the programs of going to work. They
mm,
may not even know their astral body is there. It just depends on if they're consciously in their body or not.
mm.
But I'm not complicating things too much, but
Nah, I
you
like
go out of body every night, but if you're not conscious
it.
of
Mm.
it, you won't you won't remember the experience, you
Yeah.
know.
And that's what he says
So,
about the falling, the dreams ending with the falling. He says like it's not so much falling, it's being sucked back into your body. And that's like why
yeah.
so many people have that, because they are out there in the astral. And they like yeah. And it's funny as well. That reminds me of something as well. It's like something that he says when he's doing these like sessions or whatever. He'll be like, and I got a sudden urge to go back to my body. I was like commanded to go back to my body, and then he gets there and he's like, oh, I had a bit of a dry throat. It's like, all right, I
Yeah.
thought it was something serious or something. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, super strange, man. The dream thing is super deep,
Yeah.
really.
The dream side of it is, but see, okay. So from my understanding, like you have a physical body
Hmm.
and then you have an etheric double. And that etheric double will separate from the body sometimes barely, sometimes not at all, sometimes barely, sometimes it'll get stuck to the ceiling, sometimes it'll slide to the left, right, fall to the floor. And then after that, we go dream. We dream pretty
Hmm.
much. So our dream self will go back to that etheric double before it falls into the body, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So a lot of the falling stuff that you're talking about is actually our etheric double falling back
Mhm.
into the body. It may seem like it's a far away distance, you know, back to the physical body, but it's really just that etheric double once we come into it, coming back into the body, you know.
Oh, so that separates, and then from there, that something else separates from that into the
Yeah,
astral.
like yeah, it's almost like so the way Muldoon describes it, and I think he's right, uh, is that the etheric double, your astral etheric body, is really who you are. So, in other words, the everything that you're taking in through your senses, everything that you're conscious of at this moment, isn't from the physical
Hmm.
per se. It's from that etheric being. So, if
Mm.
you were to remove that etheric being out of the human body, then you would just be a pile of meat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in fact, they've hooked up electrical charges to bodies right after they're dead or thing, and it just flop when they're not conscious, when that double's not in there, it just flops around.
Oh
Like
shit.
it doesn't do anything. It's not even a Frankenstein. It just
Shit.
flops around. So the science believes that consciousness comes from our brain and it
Mm.
comes from just our bodies and it makes up this thing. But that etheric energy double inside of our body is what makes us who we are.
Mm.
So right now, what you and I are taking in is really from that etheric double.
Mm.
We're just sensing it through the body.
Yeah, that makes so much more sense. It's like the thing you said as well about mainstream science saying that the brain creates consciousness. Like they need, like it's funny because they say things like that, but then quantum physics completely disproves that as a fundamental
Yeah.
reality anyway. Because yeah, it's just so stupid. But that the physical body, etheric double, and then the astral body. That's, I mean, I don't know. It's very reminiscent of like, it reminds me of like Holy Trinity. Maybe that's what they were
Hmm.
talking about. Like, what else is three? There's loads of shit with three.
There's
Can't think.
all kinds of trinities. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. But I don't know if I don't even know if the etheric double, like when we dream, a lot of times science would say we're dreaming from inside of the physical brain.
mm,
But I don't think so. I think we're dreaming from the memories inside of our etheric bodies. I think our etheric body is what's dreaming.
mm.
This body is just a processor for sensations.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all it is. Vision, sound, feeling,
Mm.
you know.
That's something that, yeah, something Shinzen Young says in The Science of Enlightenment. It's like we've actually got six senses, and the one that people talk about, like the psychic one, that's the seventh sense. And like it does, it does make sense. Like this, because in the books as well, to bring it back to like Robert Monroe, it's like there's some beings that when they were doing the so when the other people, when he was speaking out about the other people's experiences in the Gateway program, they would say
Yeah.
like they encountered beings, and the beings were like, "What's material reality? Like I never heard of it." Or something.
Yeah, yeah, like they don't know what the hell he's talking about,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
like, what the fuck? Like, and he's like, "How do you explain it? Like, how am I supposed to explain it? Like, you can't. Like,
That's trippy to even think about too. And here's the thing, bro. I promise you this. Take some time and then listen to the books again. There'll be something that you didn't catch before. I
mm,
listen to the books every year, and there's always some profound thing that I
mm,
totally missed the time
yeah,
before.
yeah,
You know?
I love it when that happens as well. And you're like, shit, I didn't hear that, but like, you did it. Like,
Yeah. Because their
yeah,
consciousness, even like when we read, listen to the radio, watch TV, whatever we do, we're always taking stuff in halfway. So we're
mm,
halfway in and halfway out. So the thing is we didn't really read the entire book
mm,
consciously.
no, yeah,
And
so,
if anybody's listening to this, if you don't believe me, go back and listen to or read a book that you've already listened to or read again.
mm,
And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. You'll be like, there's whole parts of the story that are profound that I wasn't even. It's like we get fixated on one part of the story, like that $2 thing. And then
yeah,
he tells another profound thing, but we kind of, our emotions are still fixated on that, you know?
yeah, yeah. We go into like alpha, and we just like fixate on that one thing. Another,
Yeah.
you reminded me as well. Another thing that he says is when he falls out of his when he comes out of his porch and he's holding all of his stuff, and he flies down the flagstone stairs, and as he hits the floor, he said it was no harder than if he'd just laid his head on the floor, and like then his body just drifted down after. And like you can hear it in sort of in the words that he doesn't want to believe that that was the case. Like
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? This guy
Yeah.
is so,
Yeah.
if you haven't read the books, like obviously if you read the books, like like everyone that's read it knows that I don't really think he wants to believe it at all. Like, but he has
He
to.
and in his first book, he didn't. I mean,
Mm,
and it's like in the beginning of the first book, he's like, I'm something's wrong with me, like I'm going crazy.
mm,
I might have a tumor. Like I don't know what he was talking to everybody, like something's wrong with him,
mm,
the whole time. Till he finally just went with it.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
that's when shit got interesting. The thing that freaked me out the most, I think that really interested me, other than just getting out of body in the local area and being a ghost, was when he started getting attacked or screwed with by
yeah,
things.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then he was like, dude, I said every prayer that I ever knew. I prayed to Jesus. I prayed to, and I did it with intent from the heart. And
mm.
these beings were laughing at me.
You,
Listen to him praying to his God. That's what the
gee,
being said about him. So you
uh,
probably missed that part in the book or
yeah,
wasn't aware of it.
100%.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but that's what they said to him. Like he was getting attacked and struggling in the astral realm in this crazy, fearful war thing that was happening.
Yeah.
And he starts praying to Jesus, bro. And the beings are laughing at him, going, listen to him praying to his gods. Like that's pathetic.
Mate, that's another
Yeah,
level.
dude.
That's another level, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, man. That's when you realize, like, I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody, but
Yeah,
you know, there's those stories are a lot of just symbolism. It doesn't necessarily mean certain things that we think it does, you know.
100%. It's layered. It's all well, not I don't know if all of it's allegory, but I don't know.
A
I
lot of it is.
a lot of it is. Let's just be real. Let's be real. There is it's weird though with Jesus Christ though, because obviously the Robert Monroe thing is could be an isolated event, possibly. I don't know, or it works differently on different beings. Maybe it's just the phonetics of the word, but like there are people that say like, "Oh, I'm being attacked by a fucking what they perceived as a demon," and they're like, "Oh, fucking Jesus Christ," and then the demon's like, "Oh shit, oh." Oh, that's a naughty word or whatever, and then the demon fucks off. And it's like,
Mhm.
so it works sometimes.
It works if, yeah. I think that works because there's an egregoric energy around it, and you take your beliefs into the astral realm, your
Hmm.
core beliefs. You know, like you could say, I'm not sure if there's a God, or I'm spiritual, or I'm not really religious, but at your very subconscious core, if you deeply do or want to believe in a God, then it
Hmm.
works for you.
Hmm. Yeah.
Robert Monroe wasn't a religious person. He doubted it the whole time, anyways.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
But he knew that it still worked because it worked for other people, but not for him.
Yeah.
Because deep down in his subconscious core, his actual true higher self, he wasn't religious at all.
I see what you mean now. Now you just said that bit that sunk it. Yeah, I know. So your deepest subconscious beliefs manifest essentially the circumstances of like what happens, like with
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what that? When you said that, there's a part in the books as well when he's a being. I can't remember if he said he saw it or like visualized it or whatever, or it was just auditory. But he said that this being came forward and it was like, "Oh, pray to me, I'm your God." And he's like, "Oh, you sound like a very like angry or jealous God or whatever he said." And then it just sort of went away. It's like maybe there's a lot of them out there like that. You know what I mean? Like maybe
Bro, I can't. So you've went through all three books after I talked to you for
I,
real.
I've read all three of them 4 times now.
Damn, dude.
I just repeat them
You
over and
go
over.
at stuff, don't you? Like
Oh,
you're like you go at stuff. That's
all in,
cool.
all in, bro, all in.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool. So here's a thing that I always like to talk about that's weird. Do
hmm.
you remember there's a chapter in book one where and it's called Because the Bible Tells Me So.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. And he says in that chapter, he says, as far as I'm concerned, I've not ran into any God, Jesus, angels, anything like that. However, there he says this from time to time, I end up in this place where there's a presence of something that is highly understood by everybody there that it or he is coming into his kingdom.
Mm,
And everyone is supposed to lay upon their backs with their abdomens and their bellies prostrated, like sticking up, and
mm,
with their face. He says, you're supposed to turn your face to your side. And nobody takes it personal. There's nobody's afraid. Everybody just knows that this
mm,
thing is here. So you have to submit to it. So everybody lays on their backs with their bellies up and to make a road for this thing to travel on.
oh,
And there's music that plays and it gets louder and when he gets close to you. And you're
oh,
not supposed to look at it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he goes, and I have this feeling that every time he comes into this place, that one person ends up disappearing, going with him, just is gone. And
Mm,
then once it's gone, everybody gets up and then goes and does their thing. That is the creepiest story I've ever heard.
that's creepy.
Because I'm imagining all of these people, whether they're out of body or dead or whatever, just laying on their back, sticking their stomachs up, and this thing comes in and just like slithers over all their little bellies, and it's got music playing, and it's going to pick somebody, and God only knows what happens to it, you know.
Jeez, yeah, that's yeah. I never,
Dude,
yeah, that's pretty. That's
it's
fucking deep.
trippy.
That's trippy
Yeah.
as fuck. Another one is when he's like, oh, I can't remember what chapter it was on, but there was the three small demons, and they were like jumping on his back and attacking him.
Yeah, like little monkey hairy kid things.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they turned out to be he whipped them round or so. I can't remember the exact story how it went, but then he ended up holding them, and they were just kids. I can't remember, but
The more he struggled, the more afraid he got,
mm,
the tighter they would lock onto him, like the crazier it got, you know.
that sounds like a moral moral to
Yeah,
it.
and then
You know what I mean?
and he even said he was screaming for help in the
Mm.
astral, crying, screaming, freaking out, and then some guy with a hood came to him and just peeled the kids off of him
Oh
and
yeah,
walked away.
yeah.
And if you get to book 3 later on, you realize that person that came and took those kids from him was
Was
him in a
him.
higher version.
That is the bit that tripped me out the most in the third book. It's just the inspec, and he's going through, and it turns out the inspec. Oh, I don't want to ruin it. I don't. We don't want to ruin it for people. Well, maybe we should
Yeah.
bleep that bit out. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Fuck.
Yeah, yeah,
You should have
yeah.
read it by now anyway. Fuck you.
Yeah,
But
well, dude, who cares if they hadn't read it? Like they need to make this into a series or
mm,
like something to wake everybody up to this. They
bro,
need to make it into like a movie or a
could you
series or
imagine
something.
that as a movie, bro? Could you imagine
Yeah. Oh
that?
yeah.
Sick. I'd watch that. I don't watch movies, but I'd watch that movie.
The first, and they're already kind of starting to do it, but the first Netflix series, not just on magic, they're still kind of playing with that. But the first Netflix series on people that are astral travelers, that's all they do is just get out of body.
Mm.
Dude, think about the shows you could do with that. The plots.
Mm.
It's endless, man. It can go from regular, soap opera life
Mm.
to solving murder cases to sci-fi. It could go all over the place, you know.
Yeah. The only
I
thing I don't know. The only thing that I
addicted to
think
this stuff.
yeah, it is sick. Like with a TV show, the only thing that I think, and I know it's a bit off topic, but like with a TV show, because it's so subjective, how or is it just like like a fictional thing, just representing? Oh, you're talking, yeah, just like a TV show, just like a okay, I was confused.
Yeah, they should just take every like kind of like they did with Dune, but
Mm,
make it more. I don't know. Don't the thing is you can't skip parts in
yeah,
this book. That's
no,
why they should make it a show. So every detail gets shown,
mm.
and then say this is based upon true events by Robert Monroe. People go, what? You know what I'm saying? They'll be like, the whole world would just be like, what? This shit's real, you
Yeah,
know? Yeah,
yeah.
it's real, dude. Like it's real. I mean, I think it would wake people up. I think that's what we need right now. I mean, with all the sex scandals and the stupid politics shit going on, and you know, people are waking up to, oh, that's the celebrities and money and politics really don't. These people are the worst of the worst. A lot of them are. So
Yeah.
what are we really here then? You
Mm,
know,
yeah.
got
I
P
think
Diddy like dumping baby oil on people and
but
streamers like getting caught talking to minors and sexting them and shit. Like
it's mad.
it's stupid, man.
It really is mad, mate. Like the amount, I don't know. The thing is the question is like chicken and the egg. Do these industries breed? Is it something like you go into that industry? Obviously not. It's mental thing. I think it's more like predators are attracted to those sort of jobs, in it? Like where they get access to kids. It's like it's high paying, it's high authority. It's like, do you remember that Glee actor as well? I know. Well, obviously, this is fucking way out of way out of scope of Robert Monroe books, but yeah, man, it's everywhere. It's like I don't think I've gone a day without seeing at least 10 pictures of P Diddy. Like for the last like 3 days.
Dude, the weirdest thing, like this guy is so weird. Imagine And if Monroe and Muldoon and William Buellman and all these astral travelers are right, like imagine taking all of your dark stuff into the astral realm when you die. This
Hmm.
is the one of the biggest reasons why I think people need to become aware of this. It's when we talk about the out of body experience, people are like, "Yeah, I might try that one day," like it's a, you know, a
Yeah.
Pepsi Cola or something. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell people you might try it. Well, what's going to happen is when you die, you're definitely going to transition into this. So if you're not aware of this place while you're living,
Hmm.
then who the hell knows what's going to happen to you when you die? I do know this, like you're going to take your addictions, you're going to take all of
Hmm.
your programmings, all of the stuff that you think, believe, and are afraid of into this place. So yeah,
Hmm.
try it like a Pepsi Cola, but
Yeah.
it should be important to everybody.
I think,
In my opinion, though, that's just me, though.
bro, I think this is genuinely the most important thing that you can do because this is clearly real. That you did like there were so many questions. Like, I'm not saying obviously we know 100%. Well, obviously me less than you because you've experimented with it. You sort of done it.
Maybe a little more, maybe.
But this,
Yeah,
like some of the stories in there when he talks about the guy that was he was in a gunfight in the store, and then like he sees him in the astral realm and he's hiding behind a bin. He tries explaining to him that he's dead, and he's like, "What the fuck? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I ain't dead or whatever." And then he's like, "Look, there's your body, mate, on the floor, like
yeah,
covered in blood." And it's like it's funny because that scenario where he's at that place getting shot, I could imagine that recycling because he hadn't processed it, cycling over and over and over and over and over again. And then that would explain ghost phenomena straight up, like 100% straight up.
bro.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the show I did last night, I replayed William Buellman's lectures from 10 years ago, and William Buellman went to China and lived
mm,
in China in high rises for a little while back in the 70s. And when he was having OBE experiences in the 70s, he would run into dead Chinese people that were
oh,
still sitting in their apartment and still eating noodles.
oh, shit. Yeah.
And he would say, "You do know that you're dead, right?" And they're like, "Yeah."
Oh,
But
shit. For real.
their programs and the way they live their life is
Oh,
all
yeah.
they knew.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
they knew. So they went back to their comfort of just sitting in their high rise eating their noodles. Now to us, if we just get a glimpse of that in our physical bodies, like just for a moment, we see something,
Mm,
and we see that, it scares the shit out of us. Like,
yeah. 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 Yeah.
but for them, they're just trying to get back to something that they know.
Mm, yeah.
Okay,
Because
so
that's,
my point is, imagine if that same person eating noodles or whatever spent 10 years of their life exploring themselves in the out of body state and exploring consciousness in a practical way.
mm,
Maybe they wouldn't be so afraid of leaving. Maybe they would
yeah.
know way more and they wouldn't be stuck in that cycle,
Yeah. You're like prepping yourself for like the end, isn't it? Like, no, it's not
Pretty
obviously
much.
it's not dark in any way. We have this fucked up, retarded view of death. Like we all like just obviously death's horrible, it hurts and shit. And if someone's just died, you're probably screaming "shut the fuck up" to me right now. But it's just a passing. Like,
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I got a listener named Gareth Williams who has been listening to the show for quite some time, and I'm not sure, but I think what we do literally gives him hope. He has ALS, so his body's slowly turning on itself. His nerves aren't working. ALS is bad. Your motor functions start dying, so your body literally starts
mm,
collapsing slowly and painfully. So
mm,
now he's becoming a mind that is stuck in a body that's collapsing upon itself.
oof,
So he listens to the show and he talks through us through this thing with his eyes, and his caretaker will message me on Facebook, about what he's saying. And he wants to figure this out of body thing out so bad. but it's hard for him because his body's in pain all the time, you know. But
Yeah.
to him, it's like it's giving him hope, you
Mm.
know.
That's all he
It's
has.
something that brings him happiness and hope, and he knows that it's real now too, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
he's looking forward to that transition, actually,
I can
you know.
imagine. Oh yeah, yeah, because I'd imagine if you had that, you'd be like, shit, motherfucker, I'm gonna die. But if you knew,
Yeah, I mean, he sent me a joke just the other day that he's like, or yesterday, and he said, I can't wait for this. Like, I might actually find a physical body to possess, he said,
oh
you
shit,
know, as a joke, right? Because
yeah,
he's a young guy, you know. He says, I'm still here. I'm annoying Richard, who's his caretaker, as always. I'm planning on doing the gateway process, the Monroe gateway process. I've told my caretaker that he's got to do it with me.
nice.
Um, I remember William Buellman received some healing from his cancer in the astral realm, so there's no way I can't.
Ooh.
So it's worth a try. He goes, but I'll be honest, if I ever get out of body, I will never want to get back into a broken body again. I might look for a poor soul to possess.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah, he said I haven't been online much because of the pain, but I'll catch up with the show, you know.
Jeez, yeah.
So that's such an inspiration. This guy's such an inspiration to me, man.
That's,
You know.
do you know what? Pause. Fair play to you, bro. That's fucking massive. Like for your show to
Yeah.
be helping someone like that, that you should be fucking super proud of that, bro. That's
Well, he's helping me, dude. Like
mm,
I mean, in a dark time, he contacted me when I was in my like a darkest time right around Christmas when I was alone and
mm.
you know, going through some kind of weird dark night thing.
Oh
And then
yeah.
he was like, some of the, I don't know how to explain it. He's like, I understand everything that you went through. And if I had to do things all over again, I would do it this way, you know. And he
Mm,
even says a part of me thinks that the emotional pain that I was going through in those times might have caused this disease. Like he's got some intuition that
mm,
his own pain might have brought upon that disease. I don't know about that, you know,
mm.
but the fact that he's even trying to communicate with me and there's
Yeah.
a fire lit under him to explore this realm while his body is just like that,
Mm.
to me, like I was on the edge of not podcasting anymore, like just
Fuck
going my own way.
shit.
And that guy saved me. That
Oh,
one guy,
oh,
you
that's
know.
fucking sweet, man.
Yeah, dude.
That's
Yeah.
sick. I
Let
love
those
that shit.
kind of things let you know that you're on, you know, you're following your heart, so to speak, you know.
Yeah, you're making an impact in it. Like
Mm,
there's
yeah.
that's see for me, and I'm sure you're the same in it. Like you can make as much money as you want. That means shit. And it genuinely doesn't mean shit. Once you start figuring out the astral, it doesn't mean shit. But genuine connections with people like that, souls like that,
Means a lot.
oh my
Yeah.
god, it means
Means
everything.
everything. Yeah,
Everything.
dude.
Here's a
It
question, right?
means yeah, dude, like it does. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that to
No, no,
me,
good.
personally, that is what inspires me, is to meet the like people like that and to keep them in my life as close as possible. When people get too materialistic, too superficial, too fearful, it's
Mm,
not that I don't want them in my life. It's just that they're growing a different way than I'm
yeah,
growing. You
100%.
know,
Yeah,
it's hard to explain.
I know exactly. For me, like I'm like that. Like I don't. Obviously, you shouldn't do this anyway. But I don't talk about people behind their back, nothing like that. Like if someone tries to talk to me about someone else, I'll be like, look, like nothing to do with me. Got my own fucking shit to deal with. Like you deal with your shit, I'll deal with mine. Innit?
Yeah,
I'm trying to read, motherfucker. I ain't got time for your shit. Um,
right.
but like the connections that you make with people, I've had it recently where I've met someone and I've never felt it before. That connection, like when
You
you feel
know them.
you know them, but like obviously you know what I'm talking about. But on a so
Mhm.
I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. I'm sure everyone's got an instance of this, and you just it's just so deep. You feel like you've known them like your whole life, but like maybe you've only known them for like a couple of days or whatever. I think I don't know, like there's something astral about that. Like
Oh yeah, dude, for sure.
Super
I've
fun.
had that experience too, and that one, and actually, one of those people brought upon one of the worst suffering moments I've ever had in my life.
Jeez.
So sometimes we'll run into souls, and we think they're there to do certain things, but they're actually there to grow you,
Mm,
uh, and not necessarily in the way that you want to grow. And then
mm,
other times they're there to grow you the way you want to grow, if that makes sense. Like,
mm.
but you know them, you know what you know them. It's like when Monroe met those two guys, right? BB and the other guy,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So he met these dudes uh and he starts kind of hinting towards it in his first book too. Like he would run into them. He's like, I know something tells me I know this guy,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, or I know this other person. It turns out they've been incarnating, doing the same stuff. And even when they didn't incarnate, when they would split up and go into different realities, they were still kind of connected to each other, you know.
Mm,
It's pretty
yeah.
trippy,
It is
really
true.
trippy.
There's a lot, especially in the second book where all the clicking out, when he's like, oh, click, and then he's somewhere else, is hard to follow, obviously. But yeah, mate, there's so much. There's
Well,
there,
I find it very clever that he had to create like a key so that you'll understand the book. You know, like when you read a map and it's like this symbol means this, this, and that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, in order for him to explain everything that happened in that book, he had to create like a key. So when I say click,
Mm,
this is what this means. When I say wrote, this is what this
yeah,
means,
the
you know?
road, the thought,
Yeah.
there's like a thought package, and
Yeah.
is it? Yeah, it's almost like, because that's the thing as well. Like we've been reduced to our smallest parts. Like we actually have to physically say words individually, pronounce
Mm.
them out. Like it's like the most basic fucking communication ever. And these guys are just like, bloop, like a whole fucking conversation. It's just like
Yeah.
one thought. And oh, that's some telepathy shit. I think that's more what telepathy probably is. Not like talking like me and you are now. Like we both say something and we're both like, oh, you carry on like telepathically. I think it's just like these just big thought forms. Like it makes
Yeah.
sense.
And when
Mm,
you get a download, it's kind of like that too. Like suddenly you
mm,
understand how everything works about this subject, you
yeah.
know, and it just clicks in you, and you're like, wait, I can explain it. But in order for you to communicate it, it's going to take you about 30 minutes at least
Mm,
to
yeah.
effectively communicate it or draw it out or, you know, yeah.
Mm, yeah.
So
Well,
in the astral realm, everything like the more, I guess, out there you get, the more it becomes instant. Everything's like elegant but instantaneous, you
mm,
know.
yeah. That's like, yeah, it's fucking there's so many points in that book. Like one of the things that I picked up from the book heavily, right? It was like I think it was more towards I don't know whether it's more towards the first book. I find it hard to sort of like, so I just whack them on and then I listen and then I whack them on another one on. Normally do it sequentially. I probably should make sure I do. But one of the things that I
Yeah.
hear quite a lot is like you question shit too much. That's what they say. Like, why are you always asking fucking questions? Like, shut the fuck up.
Who
Just
says
enjoy it.
that?
Like they don't say that, but they're like you're looking into stuff too much. Like you're trying to figure it out. Like I can't remember there was a part of the book.
Oh, I thought that you were talking about people in your life. You're saying in the book there was a part where they were
Yeah,
saying that to him. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
in my life. Yeah, but
Dude, I'm
yeah,
gonna
but
have to go back and listen to the book again so I can find that part. Yeah.
there's loads of
Yeah.
instances like that, and they're like, oh, you're like you try and categorize stuff. They obviously I'm paraphrasing. They say in a different way, but like all this, it's like when they talk about like believing and stuff like that, they're like, no, we just know. Like there's a knowing, and like the poker game when he has the poker game with that little Scottish guy,
Yeah.
and
He's
he's
like, I
like,
don't want to take your money, Roy. You know?
yeah, yeah, and he's like, you're not
Yeah.
taking my money, and I ain't giving it to you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
He
it's
just knew though. Yeah,
yeah.
we've had those instances like that too. I've done it with tarot. So, like I know it's going to be this card sometimes, but it's like for a moment, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I don't like. I've really thought about that. How he tapped into
Mm,
that place. And another thing too, man, that's in this book that Bro, people are missing out like with this
Really are.
book. But another thing too is when he was in the airplane and he had to make the decision about the airplane because he was going to be late for a meeting or something. And
Hmm.
it's like suddenly he knew every choice that he had done before. So he
Hmm.
implies that he's done this several times before, and the
Hmm.
wisdom that he got through his intuition to do the right thing so that
Oh,
everything would work out, you know.
oh, yeah, I must have. If I listened to that book, I'm like, yeah, that's that motherfucker bit. That's another example of like forgetting shit in the book. But
Dude,
yeah,
like 10 times at least, 10 to what do they say? 10 to 15 times before you actually take in an entire
mm.
book. And there's 3 books in this one, you
Oh, I'm
know.
on my way, bro. I'll have that done by the end of the week, 100%. I just fucking
Or you just go to work, put the headphones on and like,
I'll
yeah.
listen to a book. It'll finish. I'll either start it again, or I'll pick the next book up because I don't really. I've started listening to music a little bit more, but primarily I don't just listen to that shit all day long. Like sometimes though, like I don't know if you've ever felt it. Like sometimes you get this point where you're like, fuck, like I just can't take any more information. Like I'm just gonna have
Yeah.
to listen to a little bit of music or something just to like recalibrate and then get back into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I know exactly what you're talking about. When I first started listening to Monroe's books, I was getting out of body at work. I worked for Verizon Wireless as a tier 2 tech support agent,
I
right?
remember you saying that. Yeah.
So I would go on my lunch breaks and I'd have to go down the elevator, get in the car. That takes 15 minutes and you only got an hour. But I would drive out to this park, this beautiful park on the Arkansas River, and then
Mm.
walk down the trails off the little streams and just sit back and listen to Journeys Out of the Body in the woods.
So yeah.
And then I remember this one time I was trying to get out of body that I felt my body get really hot. Like after the vibration, it got really hot, like I was in a fire. So I was like, oh,
Mm,
I almost separated. And I totally lost track of time. So my
mm,
boss calls me and I pick up the phone. I'm like, oh, it's Josh. Okay. And he's like, bro, where are you at? And I said, dude, I gotta tell you about this thing, dude. I almost got out of body. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, dude, you're like an hour and a half late or something like that from lunch. He's like, we need to talk. And I was so fixated on the OBE thing. When he said we need to talk, I was like, dude, we absolutely need to talk. I have to tell you about this
yeah,
shit, bro.
yeah.
Like, I didn't give a shit about the job,
He's
dude.
like,
Like,
no,
that's
you're
just
fine,
something I
bro.
did daily, you know? So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he just pulls me into the office and I'm talking to him. I'm like, I'm sorry, I got fixated on this thing. And I start talking to him and he could see how passionate I am about it, right? And
Mm.
he's like, are you serious? Is this real? So he just totally forgets, you know,
Oh, sick.
about like reprimanded me or whatever. I'm like, dude, it's so real. And he started hiding stuff in the office at work. And he was like, all right, I'm gonna hide stuff. And then I want you to get out of body and come to the office and then tell me where it is to try to prove it, you know.
Mm,
And I was like, I don't know if that works like that, but I do know that I haven't been able to get past the yard yet, right? But
mm,
I'm going to try to come up to the office. And it was like I knew I was on what I was supposed to be on.
mm.
Does that make sense? Like my
Yeah.
soul, when you're that passionate about something, all of the other stuff really it just kind of doesn't matter. And I know what people are thinking. Oh yeah, you know, you're just not grounded. You're gonna fuck your life up or something. But no, actually, that following that thing, that excitement
Mm.
led me to experiences in my life I only dreamed about having, dude, for the next few years.
Yeah, sick.
And I'm not talking about just in the astral. I'm talking about in the physical too.
Oh, for real. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. What like entity? Like not entity, but but
No, no,
related to.
like I lived in Arkansas my entire life. I
Mm,
lived around my family in this spot my whole life. I knew nothing else. So um experiencing I would things that I would dream about, like surfing on the beach, living
mm,
on the beach, living in Arizona, seeing the rocks of Sedona, those types of things. That following what excites you
mm,
will lead you to these places.
mm,
Your passion. will ignite a creative fire that ignites soul support. So as a man, I'll just say it like this: as a man, you can do this as a woman too, but from a man's point of view, when we're following our passion and what excites us, what puts us on the edge, let's say what puts us on the edge of the void. So if we're living on that edge of the void, that unknown, that edge of fear, and we're pushing that wall all the time, not so far to where we're insane, but just enough to where, you know, we're a little off balance. The feminine or life or the physical will start to, it'll pick up on that vibration and start to build a circle around you and start to come towards you and support what you're doing. Now this works for, I'm not talking about this from a gender point of view. I'm talking about this from a higher, like, spiritual point of view. So this works for men and women, whatever. When you follow your passion or what excites you and you do it the right way or focused enough, not to where you're just not living, other vibrations are going to pick up on it, and they're going to want to support what you're doing, because it's almost like that spermosa, right? That fire is leading to somewhere that they want to go to. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So lots of support started coming into my life, like crazy amounts, and instantaneously. One thing that I needed that I just didn't have either the money for, the resources for, or the way to do this thing or whatever. It just, like, everything was a coincidence. Everything was a coincidence lining up to where I could get to that next place. So everything that I envisioned as a youngster, like, you know, certain things I don't want to talk about, they're kind of personal, but they were awesome, you know. But then other, like living on the beach, and like on the beach, are you serious? Dude, I've been a poor redneck my entire life. But when I was living there, it wasn't like I was in this magnificent condo and I was full of money. No. It wasn't like that. It was, I had a little studio on the beach, but I was barely getting by every month, but I did it every month. Like, I was riding with my higher self, dude. And the worries and the fears and all the shit here, like, oh, you better squirrel away those acorns, you know, you better not do this, you better, that shit. Like, my mindset was totally different, you know. It's like, oh, I need money. Well, there's money everywhere. All I got to do is just, like, all I have to do is just provide value, and someone's going to give me money. So it's no big deal.
That's
oh, I need love. There's billions of women everywhere, dude. You know, like, my mind was at a different place. And even those things I didn't care too much about. I would go outside, swim, do whatever. Or when I was in Arizona, go look at the mountains. And all I could think about was, how do I get to my next OBE? When am I going to get on the radio next and talk about this?
Sick. Yeah.
When you're at that vibration, that high vibration thing, it's a peak of the flux and reflux kind of. But when you're peaking, God, I can't wait to get back there again. I'm on my way back, dude.
Yeah, you're building
momentum. I'm sorry I went on a rant, bro. Like, big time, but
I love it, bro. That's what I want. I want to hear you ranting. But
the astral kind of taught me that, like, things have to come into manifestation through the astral first, right? So we vibrate, like, when you imagine something, let's say, for instance, you use your imagination and you really focus on it, so much so that it's detailed. Like, say, a rose or something, you can smell it, you can feel the sensitive, like, flowers, you can feel the thorns in your fingers. But when you use that same kind of imaginative thing in a scenario, and then, like, your emotions get involved, and then it triggers something in the soul, then it excites you, and then you start moving towards that with whatever you have, and you don't do it in fear at all. It goes into the astral, and it kind of makes a blueprint, so to speak. And that blueprint has to come back down into the earth. And how it does that will be through the easiest way possible, which is usually always seems like a coincidence, but it's a synchronicity, you know.
Yeah. That's I rate that so highly. That because if you think about it like that, sort of a burning desire that you have when your your thinking mind and your feeling body are both feeling their incoherence and they're both feeling the same thing. Like because we've all had those things like you really want to do something, but in your mind just sort of like, "Oh, can I do it?" And then it never works. If you have that mindset, it never works. When you get onto,
Yeah.
and I know what you mean, when you get onto that level, when you fucking vibrate at the same time, and it causes that like that vibrato in you of just fucking pure power, and you're like, fuck this, like this is getting done, and then you
Yeah.
just
Or
fuck
what's the worst that could happen? At least I gave it my everything,
hundred
you
percent.
know?
But this is the
Yeah.
thing. I do not believe that you can fail. I think
Nah.
if
You,
you were
unless you quit.
unless you
Unless
quit,
you quit. Yeah.
if you
That's
quit,
it.
then you quit 100%. But I I would never let anybody tell me. Like obviously, I know you wouldn't. So people that are at this stage where because the thing that's sort of like characteristic of people that don't really believe this sort of stuff is real bad self-esteem issues.
Yeah. Right.
And it must, for me, like it must be so
You
so
hit it,
crazy.
dude. You hit the nail on the head, bro. Like that's exactly what it is. I don't feel even if that existed, which
Mm,
there's no way it could in their mind, but even if it did, they ain't worthy of that kind of stuff.
mm. That's
You
exactly it.
know?
100%. It's mad, isn't
Yeah,
it?
dude. It's
It's like
stupid. It's crazy. It's they're
yeah,
like I don't mean to cut you off again, dude, but it is the craziest thing to think. People think that,
yeah,
you know? Like if you started getting successful and things started happening, like, oh man, you got like you're following your dreams. Oh, you met this person. Oh, you're going to this whatever. Oh, you met this beautiful, successful chick that loves you, and all these things start happening. There's two
mm,
types of people in the world. There's people in the world that are like, and these people are rare, and these are the people I'm looking for. You know,
mm,
they're like, fuck yeah, dude, that's amazing. That's awesome, dude. I want
mm.
some of that.
Yeah,
Show me
yeah,
the way, Obi-Wan, right? Like they see the abundance of everything. And there's
yeah.
other people that just smile in your face and they're like, dude, I'm so happy for you. That's great. And
Mm,
unconsciously, they're just like, yeah, he probably sold his soul to the devil, or
yeah.
he got lucky, or he had this only happened to him because it's like, whatever. And then they start trying to bring you down to their level, cut you down a peg or two,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
100%. That they, I feel sorry for those sort of people. Obviously, we all know loads of them. Like,
Yeah, man.
there's an abundance of them, and there's this. It's funny actually because there's this guy that I work with on a certain building site that I work, um, and he's always trying to tell me about his problems, and so my little saying is a ubiquitous saying, as I found out. No problems, only solutions. Okay, I don't want to hear. I don't give a fuck
I
about
got
your
my own
problem.
fucking problems. Is
I
that
got my
what
own
you're
fucking
telling me? 'Cause, right? Yeah,
tell,
yeah.
tell me what the problem is once, and then talk the rest of the time about the solution. I don't want to hear. I don't need to hear the problem twice. All right,
Mm.
we just get this problem out of the way. And when I get there, he's always like telling me about his life, telling me about like conspiracies, and he's like, "Oh, it's so dark, it's so dark," and I'm like, "Yeah, bro, you need to chill
Dude,
the
I
fuck
can't
out."
stand that shit either,
I
dude.
said, "You
I
need to
can't.
chill. You need to cheer the fuck up." I said, "You need to pick yourself up, bro, and you need to fucking crack on." Like, and he was just like, "Oh, you're too positive." I was like, "There's no such thing as too positive. No such thing. It's when these energies clash, and like you meet someone. If you ever walk into a room, and like you've never even spoken to that person, but you're like, I already know you're a cunt. Do you know?
Yeah, I can tell you're a miserable fuck. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you
Hmm.
meet people like that, and it's saying you can't connect with them. You try, but it feels like something's repelling. I actually genuinely feel like you, obviously not physically, but you feel like. Have you ever done that thing when you've been in like a group of like say three or four, and then you're left with that one person that you don't really talk to, and you're like
Yeah, bro. But
just a little bit.
with me, I should have done what you did a long time. With me, I was always trying to, because I came from that mindset,
Mm,
right? I was always trying to save people and fix them and help them.
mm,
And I had nothing to offer except my time, which is more valuable than anything in the world, and my
100%.
emotions, which is the second most valuable thing in the
Mm,
world.
yeah.
And because I didn't have, resources or certain things, these people would help with physical things, whether it was money, cars, whatever. but I would be stuck with just trying to fix their emotional bleeding all the time.
Yeah.
Almost even to the point where it got to where I became like it's almost, it's not what you think, right? It's not like this person's bad and you're good or whatever. It's almost like they're showing you, if you actually dive into that, they're showing you a part of yourself that needs to be addressed, right? Now,
Yeah.
if you don't dive into it, once you get to that level and you understand what's going on, which I didn't, you just don't do it anymore. You do what you're talking about, right? You're just like, man, look, there's a solution to this problem, and if that don't work, we'll try something else. It's the triggering of the abundant mindset. There's enough of solutions, money, love, resources, everything to go around to help get you out of this position if you're willing to go for it.
100%. 100%. That's what I was speaking to someone the other
Yeah.
day, yeah. And I said, I want 30 acres. That's what I want. Okay. I'm not materialistic in any way. I don't want neighbors. Like, don't want any neighbors. Like, I
Right.
just left the fuck alone. Even if it's woodland, I don't care. Like, I just want to be in there. I just want to live. I just want
Sure.
forest and fields.
You
And they
want
were like,
freedom.
yeah. And they said 30 acres is a lot. I said, how many acres do you think are on the realm, the planet, or whatever? And they were like, yeah, there is a lot. I was like, who the fuck says I can't have 30 of them?
No, dude, you totally can. There's
100%.
land in Arkansas for cheap right now. They're one of the most beautiful states in the United States for
Okay.
dirt cheap. You can grab it up right now, you know.
I do have
But
family in Oklahoma, actually.
there's probably land near you just like that somewhere. Maybe it
Mm.
needs a little work or whatever.
Yeah. The problem is because we're a lot smaller. Actually, saying that, so I had to go to the Mysterious Earth convention conference with should have remembered his name.
Is it
But
Mysterious Universe?
no, it's Mysterious Earth. It's this guy who does like a symbolism of like the Knights Templar and people like that.
Oh,
It,
okay.
it was good. It was fine. You know, I had a good time, whatever. But I checked the house prices there. 6 bedroom house, huge on the beach, right? Because this is up north, right? This is nuts, right? So up there on the beach, beautiful, not so beautiful. I mean, it is pretty trash, but like 6 bedroom house, beautiful house, no land, but beautiful house, 130 grand. Okay. And I checked the prices in London, right? For the same level of
They're
house.
double at least, right? Yeah.
Well, that was about 1.7 million compared to
Shit.
130 grand up north. But there's no opportunity. There is opportunity. There's opportunity everywhere, but people perceive,
Bro, the internet, you have the internet now. So there's opportunity,
yeah.
whatever you're doing. Like, but that, yeah, bro, like I understand where you're coming from, man. That you you're always going to, but remember when you're sparking, and I call it kind of like sparking when you're void walking and you're
Mm,
sparking that fire, you're always going to attract the void to
mm,
you. That thing, that adversarial thing that's always going to test you,
mm,
you know, that's
yeah,
not real. They don't understand yet that they're creating their reality on every level.
yeah,
And if they don't understand that, that's too much responsibility. That's too much freedom. That
yeah,
means that means I'm responsible for everything.
yeah, yeah. They don't
Well,
want the
yeah,
responsibility.
you are.
Yeah.
Guy Ritchie is one of my favorite film directors. Right, guy. He did Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. He did Snatch, all that
Yeah.
stuff. He wrote a book that talks about extreme ownership. He said the moment you take extreme ownership of everything in your reality,
Oh.
right, is the
Did
moment that you can have anything you want.
did he talk about
You
the
know,
astral?
he didn't talk about the astral realm, and
Mm,
most of those, it was more physically minded, around the physical earth. But
yeah.
uh, people still can't wrap their heads around that. So how are we going to tell them, the universe and the interverse and pretty much
Mm,
all of what you think reality is, like on some level, you created that too.
mm. Yeah. It's super deep when you think about when you think about that. I shouldn't laugh, but like when you think about it like that, like it's hard because if that rule applies to one person that's having a mediocre life a person that's having a fairly shit life, someone that's having a great life, but then you have someone that's like a slave, like a modern day slave, not like a back in the day, like one of these new ones, and like maybe like a sex slave or like a human, like someone that's human trafficked. Like, at what stage did they manifest that for themselves?
Well, I don't think they manifested that for themselves. I think
Maybe
their
that was wrong
soul.
language. Yeah.
No, man. I think their soul perhaps
Mm,
manifested that obstacle so that they
mm,
could have the experience of solving it or getting out.
mm,
You know, or it could be that consciousness actually wants to experience that shit.
mm. Yeah. I mean, a
Consciousness is a
full,
feedback system, man. It wants to experience the spectrum of everything,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In
That's
fact, in that book Conversations with God, and I think William Buellman and a few other people say that consciousness, or Thomas Campbell, sorry, that once we leave this place, everybody thinks we're going to go to some crazy heaven thing, whatever. And we do. We go into the astral and we create other realities and universes. And eventually we get bored. We
yeah.
miss. This is why even Monroe talks about, they say it's real addicting down there on the earth because physical life, you get to experience
Mhm.
concepts
Yeah.
like love, food, pain,
Mm,
sex, sadness, happiness, thirst, quenching thirst, all of
mm,
these things you get to, it's like for a conscious being in the universe, it's a carnival ride.
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like
You
on a
know, it's like
yeah.
that's why they can't fathom. They're like, wait, so everything is data, but you're telling me that I can actually experience, like, what is feeling? I can feel this
Yeah.
stuff. Like, no, yeah, dude, you go down there and you can get in a war. Like, you'll be in a war, and if somebody cuts you, dude, it's gonna hurt like a bitch.
Mm.
What? Like, yeah, dude, it's like the ultimate video game.
It's like
But you're gonna
Westworld.
learn, yeah, but you're gonna learn so much about who you really are through this.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Fuck, I wonder if J.J. Abrams knows about the Astral. He said like Westworld is very that that from what you just said, literally.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
interesting.
dude. Like, people say, well, I'm never dating again because they broke my heart, and it's like, dude, yes, you are. You wanted your heart to get broke.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like that because you're feeling the pain and you're miserable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But a part of you knew that once you started really getting intensely involved with that person, that shit was coming,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
love hurts,
Don't say
right?
that.
Love hurts. It does, man. Like, even if you're with somebody the rest of your life, one of you is gonna die.
Oh, that's true. It's true.
Yeah, love hurts. So, do you want to experience love? And
Mm,
9 times out of 10, the entity, well, if it really takes time to think about it, weighs out all of the pain and everything. Hell
mm,
yeah,
mm.
it absolutely does. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
same thing with food, man. I bet you, like, the first conscious being that finally got to become a human, then went back and woke up to who they really were. And the astral's like, dude, have you tried pizza? Holy
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
right?
But,
Like, that was amazing. Like, what are you talking about? Pizza? It's like, no, dude, we would take in this, we'd grow this stuff and make it, and then we'd take it in for energy, and then we'd shit it out. And it's not it's not the same, it's not the same input output data system we have here. That's super,
Yeah.
like, down there it's slower, but like you could feel it and it would taste good. And these entities probably talking to each other like, what the fuck? What is taste? What is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Plato's cake. You're like, what the
It's
fuck
like,
taste,
man,
man? Get the
just
fuck out of here.
trust me. You want to be a human just for a little, just come down there with me. And it's like, I don't know, man. I heard you get sucked in that vortex and it's hard to get out. You know, it's like,
Mm,
well, yeah, it is, because it's a deep, deep, deep unconscious dream state, but
mm.
it's awesome. You know,
That, like, if you think about it in the way that you said it, the chakra system, the most pleasurable ones are at the bottom, which is
yeah,
sex, eating, and sort of like ego. Not ego, but like thinking that you're better than
ego
anyone else.
gratification. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so if you think about the consciousness, if that is a metaphor, Well, as above, so below. It was like a physical manifestation of the metaphor of when these beings come in, because the crown chakra is above the head, which signifies like the etheric body or the astral realm. And then they sink into these lower realms. When they get to these bottom ones, like where most people are, it's like, fuck, trying to get out of here, but you can't. Well, you can get, obviously, you can get out of it. I fucking got out of it. There's no excuse. Get the fuck out. Like, get up
You
and
can
fuck.
get out of it. It's just it's hard sometimes, you
It is
know.
hard. It is hard. And do you know what? That's another thing. Not to make it about me, but like something that I live by is I do my best not to be comfortable. I'll always push myself to the point where I'm not
That's
comfortable.
that's void walking, dude. That's what,
Because
in my opinion, that's what a man's supposed to do.
comfort is
Even
the
with
worst
love.
addiction. Yeah.
Yeah. Even with love, even with whatever. Like we're supposed we are taught that like, well, as soon as I make this amount of money or as soon as I find the perfect woman, or even on a smaller scale, as soon as I have sex and have that orgasm, I'm gonna feel peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is, as a man, the peace and the stability that you feel in your life is always going to be momentarily and temporary.
Yeah.
You belong in the void. You belong pushing the boundaries. And if you submit to that comfort and peace, all of the peace will leave you eventually.
Yeah.
You know,
You,
unless you're being controlled by some psychopath woman or something that
yeah.
likes
Yeah.
to control. But a real woman, eventually, like a real true feminine character, I don't want to say man, because it could, whatever, it could be reversed. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm old school and traditional, but
So am
anyway,
I.
so like a real feminine energy and on this earth eventually is going to be like, why aren't you chasing your dreams? Well, where's the passion? It's like, oh,
Mm,
I just want to focus on loving you, and like I just want to focus on making sure we're comfortable and
mm,
experiencing as much pleasure as possible. And don't get me wrong, women, the feminine love the earth, life,
mm,
materialistic, material pleasure. That's the feminine, but they don't
mm.
want you basking in it 24/7.
No, that's theirs. You gotta go out and
Yeah,
earn that shit.
they bring, yeah, their job is to keep that garden going, and you have to keep pushing the boundaries.
Yeah. Mm,
And it's the reason why we because deep down we really want to.
mm.
The
Yeah.
problem is that a lot of masculine energy, and I've done this myself, we get afraid that, well, if I go push that boundary, that's gonna go away.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that will tell me that they'll test you, or if you
Mm,
do this, you don't spend enough time with me, you work too much, you do this, whatever, blah blah. It's
mm.
just a test to see if you're on your course all the time.
Yeah.
That's it.
I like that.
And as long as that energy's moving, they're going to be trying to wrap a circle around it the whole time.
Mm, yeah. That's
That's where all that poking and testing comes from.
yeah. See, that's like for me, like oh, I can't. The reason I even set up my company in the first place is just because I did not like people telling me what to do. That's literally it. I didn't care about the money. It's just like I set it up, and I've like
Yeah, I get it.
5 years next year actually, but like that. Now this is like relatable, right? Like so, like back when you used to work for it, like I used to get phone calls like from my boss, and he'd be like, "We need to have a fucking chat," and I'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
like, I can't take this shit no more." And when like with the comfort thing on the last day, I don't. I always put myself in situations like this to see if I can get out. So I drove the van to where his office was. I dumped the van there, and then I walked a couple of towns over to a train station, and I did it. It was about, I think it took about an hour and a half, 2 hours. But like I did it just because I wanted, because I could have asked him to give me a lift. I could have got a taxi. Fuck, I could have got a bus. But I
Right.
was like, I want to remember this for the rest of my life. And by the time I got there, I had my shoes off, my blisters, my feet were, all my socks were ripped. Like it was fucking hard. It was like some of it was like gravel
What
roads,
did
but
you
I was
just want to tell him? I walked the whole way here, motherfucker. Is that
no,
what you wanted to tell him?
no, no, I don't give a fuck about him. It's for me. It's for
Yeah.
me to look back on and being like, look, that's what I did. Like you will remember that forever because you fucking suffered for it. It's like this suffering, like for me, like suffering, I just
I get
feel
what you're
stronger.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I
that,
get what you're saying for
mm,
sure. That's cool, man. But yeah, like it's
yeah,
that's energy, bro, that you're trying to tap into. That
mm,
same energy is the energy that creates. That's the same energy that penetrates not
mm,
just women or whatever you're trying to do on this earth, but also like if you look at things based upon the tree of life and the whole magic and occult side of things, they figured out that alpha and omega, that power and electricity and life happens between two poles of alpha and omega.
mm,
Okay. So omega would be more like the feminine and alpha would be more like the masculine. So
mm,
the masculine kind of penetrates the void. So it's the
mm,
thing that's penetrating the void all the time, pushing its energy out, whether it's trying to accomplish something, get answers to questions, or experiencing freedom. And this
mm,
is light. Divine masculine equals light, right?
mm. Okay.
Divine feminine is warmth or love.
Mm,
So love for a man is true. Like if you want to be in the most love in that's in your natural core, it would be to be who you are, what you are, do what you want, when you want, how you want, all the time, and
mm,
pushing the boundaries all the time. Right.
mm,
Love from the omega side would be to take that energy, wrap a circle around it, grow a garden out of it, make material things, manifest something out of that energy.
mm. Oh, yeah, I like that. I love that concept. That's yeah.
Right. So
That's
when it gets dark,
mm,
when we're out of balance or we don't understand this about our nature, when it gets dark, well, you know, it gets dark. So the feminine in us or in women or in whatever, just the feminine side of us could get greedy, materialistic, superficial, you know,
mm.
all the way to the point where, people are killing each other for insurance policies, shit like that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That kind
yeah,
of thing. When it gets
yeah.
dark for men, men can become violent, crazy, right? Like anytime you tell them to do something, they punch you in the face, or there's like rape, or they're
Mm,
violent, um or they're just constantly cheating all the time because they're not getting that satisfaction from that. So I mean both sexes cheat for different reasons, but it's for the dark reasons.
yeah,
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, yeah.
and not only that, this is where it gets even more complicated. Every single person has alpha and omega inside of them, whether they're man or woman. To what
Mm,
extent is to how you find out your authentic self.
mm, yeah. I like that.
And Carl Jung called this the anima and the animus, right? So at
Mm,
some point, you're going to have to come to terms with both of those energies in yourself for you to truly authenticate. Even if, let's say, you're 90% masculine and 10% feminine, well, you're never going to be truly who you are without dealing with that 10% feminine as well.
the shadow work, yeah, like bringing it like to the light
Yeah.
and mm,
I'm about 35% feminine. I
really.
am.
How do you
Fuck yeah.
know? How do you identify what traits are feminine or not?
Bro, dude, I find myself doing things that women love to do,
Is it like when
right?
when you walk out our door and you accidentally go like that, and then someone's like, "Motherfucker,
So
you gay?" Like that's your
no,
feminine
no,
side.
it's not. Well, maybe, but it's more like music, food, and I
Mm,
don't mean women. I just mean feminine. Certain things like I like, I like certain colors that a lot of times girls only like. You see,
okay.
there's, it's not like gay, like kind of what you're
Yeah,
talking about, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
more like that's always been there.
Mm,
That's always been there.
mm,
And we try to find it in other people. That's how relationships work, you know.
mm,
And we go through all of these damn relationships, and this energy keeps alchemizing in us
mm,
until we come into this like wholly authentic person who we are. And we hope that we don't die before we come to that person. Not
mm.
only that, we hope that we can become that person who we truly are and find another person who they truly are. And the, the pieces fit the way
Oh,
they're supposed to,
big
you
time.
know.
They do.
But if you get lost in this world of comparison, Like there's a million videos talking about, are you alpha enough? Are you man enough? Are you sigma
Mm,
enough? And for women, it's the same thing. Are you attractive enough? Are you
mm,
feminine enough? Are you doing, and like they can never just be the fuck who they are, because that comparison is causing pain and suffering all the time. You
mm.
see, if you
That's
push all that stuff away and you just focus on spiritual growth or astral travel or whatever, and
mm,
just be who you really are, you'd be surprised at how happy you could become. Shocked.
mm. Yeah, it is. I did hear that on the web on the YouTube channel is that they use Hemi's like for example HemiSync to bring it back to Robert Monroe like that shit like activating and unifying both your frontal lobes whatever it is
Right.
that
Yeah.
like that's been used for healing. It's been used for like ADHD, ADD, like all these different ailments, whatever that people have. Like this shit's solving it, and it's linked to astral travel, and it's linked to like all this other shit. It's like, yeah,
It's linked to a higher vibration, it's linked to our peak performance. And if
yeah,
you look at a battery, when the it's all fractal. This is why it all works on different levels. Alchemy works on every level, right, of existence. And when you look at batteries, chemicals in the batteries, a battery is at its peak performance power when those chemicals are at perfect balance. It's
mm,
only when they become unbalanced when the battery energy starts to dim, right?
mm,
It's the same thing in you, like your consciousness, your complete focus and awareness to be able to penetrate the muck of the unconscious shit is at
mm,
its peak when your left and right brain are in sync together.
mm, yeah,
And
you're right. Yeah,
your right brain represents the feminine. It's intuitive, artistic, creative.
mm,
Your left brain is analytical,
mm,
formulaic, mathematic.
mm, yeah,
And so the two, even when your brain is having sex with each other, when like
yeah,
everything is an orgasm, dude, right at its peak power. Even the
yeah,
hemispheres of your brain, like if you can get them in perfect balance, will launch you out of your body and help you manifest a better life and open your consciousness up to things that you've never experienced. Coming
yeah.
into your true authentic self with those two alpha and omega energies inside of you will launch you into a life that you can only dream of if you can only just accept it, right? Like it's
Mm,
everything is obvious. The two in one mystery is on so many different levels. And
mm,
yet, what do? I'm not enough. I don't know. I'm afraid. How do I get what I want? Let me go ask another person who's actually just as lost as I am, that's trying to figure out formulas, and they're putting out content and they're telling me that I'm not this, this, and this enough.
mm, yeah.
That's unless what they're talking about is actually something that serves that authentic side of who you are wasting your fucking time and you're
Mm.
deadening your energy and your potential.
100%. The only answers come from you, and you can't find the
Yeah.
answer anywhere else.
No, man, you can't, like, no way.
Mm,
And that's, I think the astral realm shows us this trigger, dude, because say like the hypnagogic state is almost
mm,
like a two in one.
mm.
Do you
Yeah,
understand what I'm
yeah,
saying? So
yeah,
when our
yeah.
body's falling asleep, but our astral consciousness is staying alive. And
Mm,
right there, you could call the physical world, your physical body, omega, the astral world, alpha, right? And right there where the figure eight meets in the middle is that
yeah.
perfect balance.
Mm,
And in hypnagogia, when the astral body comes out of the physical, for a moment, you experience peak energy, peak consciousness just during that transition. Like you never lose consciousness. You don't
mm,
fall asleep and then wake up in a dream like you usually do.
mm, mm. What that is? So that hypnagogic state when the crossover happens, and X symbolism is massive as well. Uh,
Yeah.
and that point is like all systems fucking go. When we get to that point, launch. Is that like the point where like you
Yeah.
separate? That if you catch that point, you almost
Yeah.
guaranteed to separate.
So Voldoon came up with this law, and I'm going to butcher it, but the law of astral projection is is this law. Okay. The will moves, and it's just like this in magic and manifestation too. But let's just think about this. The will is moving both bodies. He calls coincidence. That's what he calls it. So your
Mm.
etheric is inside your physical. Your etheric is like the operator inside your physical body. When the
Mm.
will moves, it moves the etheric. Your
Okay.
physical body your physical body only reacts to it when you're conscious.
Mm.
When you're unconscious or when you go to sleep, the physical body goes to sleep, but your etheric is still awake,
Mm.
right? So the idea is to become conscious in your etheric and move your etheric just like you would,
Mm.
I'm gonna walk, right?
Yeah.
So I walk. But what happens if the physical body becomes instantaneously incapacitated, but my will and my etheric body still telling me to walk?
Mm.
The astral comes out, the physical
Oh,
body goes down.
yeah, I
So
got
the
you.
only thing is to keep that will moving forward while allowing the physical to become incapacitated. So how does that happen? It happens when we die. That
Mm.
happens. It happens when our heart rate slows down enough that the body can't move.
Mm.
It happens in hypnagogia,
Mm.
right? It happens when we're so relaxed, but our mind is still awake. And then we get these vibratory paralysis states because the physical body is becoming incapacitated, but the will of the etheric, that thing that's keeping you alive, is
Mm.
still going.
Mm. It's like conservation of momentum in a way,
Yeah.
like almost. Mm.
Yeah. And
Love
the hemisync tapped into the mystery of the 2-in-1 and didn't even know it.
that. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like we live in a world of polarity where either our right brain's doing something or our left, but never both together, you
Mm.
know? But
Yeah.
all it took was just for that to go, oh shit, this puts us in a whole other realm.
Mm.
This is the keys to everything, actually. It's the keys. This energy that I'm talking about is the keys to manifesting stuff on this earth. It's the keys to becoming who you truly are. It's the keys to having an orgasm. It's the keys to love. It's the keys to life.
Mm. Do you know what? We're probably going to end it now. And
Yeah,
that
dude,
was
I'm full of coffee and caffeine,
that
dude. If you
was
don't stop me, I'll keep going.
that was such a dramatic end. I just want I want to bottle that end. I want to use. I want every episode to end the way that that just ended. Like the way that
Right?
you.
Yeah.
That was fucking sick. That was dramatic as fuck. Matt, this has been sick. Obviously, we'll do this again because
Yeah, man.
um, to let people know one last time, bro, where they can find you.
Yeah, so I do a stream on. I need to fix the podcast. I'm way behind on the podcast, but just look up Lighting the Void on YouTube, and then the website for the show is ltvpodcast.shop, and then the radio station, which is a project that's God knows what's happening with it at all times. But fringe.fm is like my other. It's like my Omega project, and Lighting the Void is my Alpha project.
I love that. Yeah, man, that's
Yeah,
it. Right, brother. Thank you very much for coming on again. Fuck,
yeah,
man.
man.
We went so fucking deep, man. I'm gonna go to sleep to recover, I think. Jesus.
Yeah,
Astral
dude.
project.
All right.
Have a good evening, bro.
Later, brother.
Bye, mate.